It is very clear that the young people of Hong Kong are dissatisfied. Should the business community be doing more to help address some of the concerns that they voiced?
I think the irony to this whole movement is that they are using unlawful means to achieve an end game, which is actually in breach of the basic law, which is our mini constitution, because it's clearly written in the basic law that when we do have universal suffrage, it will be through a nominating committee before the candidates can be put forward to be elected on a one-man, one-vote basis. And in fact, this is actually quite a big step forward, because in the joint declaration between Britain and China before the basic law, there was no mention at all about universal suffrage. So to China, there's actually very little room for negotiation because it's written in the basic law. So the idea of a nominating committee has to be in there. And I see under the one country, two system, having sort of a sharing of power between central government and the people of Hong Kong, where one may have very big influence over nominating candidates, and the Hong Kong people will choose from a field of candidates and hold that person accountable if he or she wants a second term. If you look at the one country, two systems concept, this is actually a pretty good balance of power.
Well, Michael, that may be your view, but clearly thousands of people have taken to the streets to say that they don't feel the same way, and that although there is a field of candidates, there are candidates that have been rubber stamped by Beijing. We've heard what they've had to say. You have differing views. Isn't there more that can be done in order to hear those views, to try to work to some sort of solution or some sort of compromise?
I have read the front page of The Economist. I know how the West look at this thing. Some term it fake democracy, but the fact is this was in the basic law. And we must understand that the number of people that came out, do they really represent all those who wanted a civic nomination process? The key thing is that right after the MPC ruling in end August, there were 2 surveys done in Hong Kong. There are more people suggesting we accept the MPC package than those that are opposing it. And I think what fueled the massive attendance the last few days is actually the way government handled it through a pepper mist and tear gas, something that the Hong Kong people have never been used to. Right. Much more of the way of handling more than the issue itself.
Michael, some have also suggested that it's not only the leadership issue, but it is also, the protests are also at the root is the wealth gap in Hong Kong, that these young people feel that they don't have a future there, that they're not represented. Do you agree with that? Do you think that is feeding into the feeling of discontent among the city's youth?
I would absolutely agree with that. That is actually, together with the way they handle this thing, this is actually, I think, probably the driving force. We have a soaring land prices. Young people find it difficult to own a flat. If they rent a flat, the rent goes up by 15% every year, and the average salary may be going up by 5 or 7%. We have a failing land policy or housing policy left over from the past administration that we need to address. And then the other thing is we've been relying on our traditional industry, which is in finance and commerce. We need to develop new techno industry and diversify our economic structure. Otherwise, we have all these young people who came out from university who have been majoring in different disciplines, but they couldn't find jobs relevant to their training. And they all end up either selling property, real estate, or they become investment bankers. And
Michael,
these jobs are not a lot in Hong Kong. They are not abundant. It's not enough to provide the upward mobility that our diverse range of talent requires.
And Michael, if that is true, then this is a situation that is not going to go away, even if this particular wave of protests dissipates. Hong Kong cannot thrive as an economic center unless you have your young people buying into the vision of Hong Kong. What can be done? What can the business community do to address some of these deep underlying structural problems?
I don't think it's the business community. I think it's the government. First of all, the land policy, housing policy, our chief executive is addressing it and putting it on top priority. We need to get more land either through reclamation or through taking back a lot of agricultural land in the rural territories. We need to do that. We need to increase our supply of housing, private and public. But most importantly, government needs to think about how to diversify our economic structure into other value-added industries and not have it based such a high proportion on property and finance.
Michael Tien, we appreciate you joining us today and broadening out this discussion, and we do hope you'll come back again in the coming days to continue it. Michael Tien, the founder of the clothing group G2000.